Hey, it's Fearful here with another sound design tutorial. This time I'll be showing you how to design evolving bass lines using Minimal Audio's current synth. They just recently updated it to 2.0 and it's got some great features specific to this use case. Let's jump into Ableton and open up Current. Quick overview of the synth. We've got a wavetable section with 2 oscillators. We have a granular section and we have this kind of sub and sampler section. The sub is a additive sub-synthesizer and the sampler is just what it says on the tin. It's a sampler. So these are really useful. It gives you a lot of kind of flexibility in designing your sounds. There's an effects section which has all of Minimal Audio's kind of effects. They also feature presets. So if I load this one up, for example, you have a bunch of presets, which is really nice for getting a sound very quickly. There's the stream section, which is essentially their presets library. You have different packs and presets, and you can search for them with a variety of different filters. And the play section, I'm not going to be diving too much into this. I just want to focus on specifically designing this evolving bassline using some of the features in here. We have a filter, FM and AM modulation, which is really cool, and we're going to be using that a little bit as well. There's a mix section, which makes things really simple for kind of just adjusting your levels of the different kind of audio sections, oscillator sections even, and we have a matrix where we can dive deep into our modulations. There's also some chord and arpeggiator things, but I'm not going to be using those for this sound design session. So, how to create an evolving bassline in Current. I like to make my Reese basses using this wavetable here to start with. I'm going to chuck on a 3-voice unison. We're going to pitch that down straight away. Yeah, it sounds a bit rubbish low. There we go for that diminished sound, which I love. We've got this fundamental toggle here, which is really useful for getting rid of the fundamental if I change the view. So this is our kind of our spectrum view, and if I turn that off, you can see that fundamental frequency is gone. We're going to put that back in with the sub. This guy's going to need to get pitched down as well. There we go. So now we've got our sub back. And the reason I do this is because I'm doing unison here. I do not want that fundamental there being kind of duplicated and spread wide. It just helps me with my monocompatibility with the sub. The sub, I can also directly bypass the effects section, which is really handy because any kind of stereo widening stuff there, I also want to avoid that. And I just want a really solid sub. So that's nice. I know that's going to be solid. There's this really cool knock feature which allows you to create kind of like a knock to the sub. If I solo that, you can hear it's got that kind of kick knock. I just want a little bit of that, not much, just enough to give it a bit of punch when it comes in. Inaudible pretty much. It's just enough. Cool. That's pretty much it for the subsection. I'm going to do some modulation in a second. Got a nice wide unison. I might even just bring it in a bit on the width, just so that when I mono, we still have that crunch. Cool. And what is next? So first thing I want to do for creating kind of interesting Reeses is filter things. So yeah, that's a nice sound. Just oscillator A, that's great. Mix 100%. We should probably do some kind of LFO on that to get that movement. I'm going to change this to a low pass 6 pole. Cool. that'll do for now. Now this is just a standard LFO sine wave currently, and this is where the modulation comes in that creates this kind of evolving nature. So this randomize feature randomizes it on every cycle, and it keeps it from a kind of a sine wave shape, but it goes more and more random, and then it just becomes unpredictable essentially. So I want to be careful with this. I want some variation, but I don't want it to be completely different each time. You can see it re-triggers every time I hit that key. So I want to set this to free. Keeping it 1 bar at the moment. It's kind of a nice fast pattern. I've got my BPM is set to 174, so we're going for kind of a drum and bass sound here. Yeah, so that's the core sound. Pretty happy with that. Let's move on to some effects, kind of flesh it out a little bit. Where's my distortion? I'll use the polar distortion. I'm gonna use the presets because I don't want to really mess around dialing stuff in. I just want to go for fast bass sounds here. I could even use this LFO to modulate the drive a little bit. That's a bit too much. Cool. I'm going to go back to this filter. Might even slow it down. Yeah, that's starting to sound better. I'll just trying to see if this 12 pole is sounding a bit better now. Yeah, I think with the modulation I'm going to do in a second, this is going to work better. We've got our distortion. Something else I like to do is use the, where is it, flex chorus. So with the flex chorus, it adds chorus to everything, which unfortunately gets rid of the crunch. And so I'm going to just dial it back a bit, and I'm also really only want to affect, maybe if I don't want that crunch affected, I can use the multiband here, and I don't want the real low stuff like that kind of 200, the low mid stuff. It's nice movement there. I'll do it at 50. The feedback starts to become a bit kind of reverb delay. That's cool. That's also sounding okay. And then let's use a fuse compressor. Let's see what we have here. So without it, it's a bit dull. Starting to sound a bit brighter again. Just checking mono. It's pretty wide. I may want to, control that width later on. But for now, I'll move on. Something else I like to do is play around with noise. So I'm going to use the sampler, and I'm going to go to factory noise. And I'll just grab some white noise, chuck that on. It sounds horrible on its own, but what we're going to do is we're going to use FM, and we're going to FM modulate this noise, the sampler here. Actually, AM modulate it, sorry. And the source is going to be oscillator A, which gives this nice flutter. I love this sound. And it's really useful for just kind of filling out the spectrum, making your basses come across really well across the entire spectrum. On small speakers, this really helps. But it's constant, so may want to add some kind of modulation to the level. We can use this initial LFO here to keep the same movement across the entire thing. So I'll chuck that on there. That's sounding okay. Now something that's happening as well is that the sub is completely, it's not moving at all. If I solo the sub, where is it? It's just a bit plain. And again, I can use this LFO to change how the level is kind of being driven. I'll go extreme with it. And unsolo. And then back to the filters. If I go really extreme with this now, and I'll make this a bit faster. And remember, the sub is getting direct out. It's going direct out, so it's not going to be affected by the effects. So I can actually add another filter to these bits here. I want to do a little band pass to create some different movement with not complete 100% work, because it will just be a bit too much. So do another LFO, and this one we're just going to do quite a slow one. We're going to do like a real slow one. I might even do a triangle wave, and we're going to change this one to bipolar. And again, I want it to be free. Great. Let's do another filter on top of that. So we're getting all these different filter movements that add up together. And this one, I am going to try double up. Let's do a low pass 6. And it's just taming those highs again a little bit. Okay. I want to keep some of those highs, and I wonder if I can do a notch instead. So now it's just about finding the right kind of tone. Let's do notch 1. Yeah, that could work. And now comes kind of the magic of this whole piece. So we can use the curve to drive the rate of that LFO. And this is going to allow us to create really complex patterns. So let's start here, let's move it up, and then we're going to kind of tweak it to find the sweet spot. Drag that onto the rate. This curve needs to be a lot slower. So this one I'll go for a 4-bar. So again, it's re-triggering. But what I want here is I want a bit more control over like when it re-triggers. So I don't want it to just run free. I'm going to instead change, if I click on the amp envelope and click on it again to bring up this kind of section, I can change my voicing to mono and turn on legato, which is going to impact this curve by keeping it running as long as the notes overlap. And if I re-trigger, it'll always come back there. So if there's a little gap between the notes, it's going to re-trigger, which is handy when I'm kind of performing it. I can have a little bit more flexibility with how the rate triggers. So let's dial in our rate. Our max is half triplets. I want to go a little bit faster. That lasts a little bit too long, so I'm going to bring that back there. I want a bit more variety. So I have it, the way I'm playing it, it kind of changes note here. And then again there. So I want to acknowledge that with the rate changes. And maybe again we'll go just fast here, slow, fast. And I'm going to need a metronome here because this is also going to get a bit. So yeah, we've got this movement happening and it's just a lot more complicated. Finally, I've got here this overdrive. Basically what this does, I'll show you here. When it's off, as in like this, it doesn't do anything. It's a limiter. When it's purple, gentle limiting and saturation. And then orange is basically harsh, a little bit harsher. So just play with this. Now, final little kind of tip on this. I've created this. I'm going to save this as a little thing for myself. Reese random mod. And I can add kind of different tags to it. So this one's bass. There's a Reese bass down here somewhere. Reese bass. That'll do for now. I can search through all of my presets here. And I can filter for them as well. I'm going to be dropping some of these presets over on my Patreon for free, so I'll leave a link in the description. You can grab them there. The final little tip here is that you can randomize the curve, which I absolutely love. So random features just mean evolving bass lines become super easy to generate. You can really mess with this, find something that you like. And if we want to dial this up a bit, we can go a bit crazy. Let's just quickly add another filter and really go nuts with it. And we're going to go with this one again. Let's even do an this is enough to create a lot of variation quickly. Hit random again, got a different one. Yeah, that's basically how I would create an evolving bass line really quickly. You can then take this, record it out as audio, and rearrange them all in little pieces that make repetition, like these little hooks that actually make sense. So as I said, I've designed a bunch of these presets, which I'll be dropping in a link below. Go help yourselves to those. And I hope you found this useful. I'm going to be using Current a lot moving forward, and I may make more videos. Let me know in the comments if you want to see more videos like this. Peace.